So that's incredible. So you came out, you fell in love, and you're like, I see opportunity, and you weren't afraid to take that leap.
Nope.
So, going out on faith, you trusted your ability and your talent. You had no idea what was going to happen here. Did you have a job lined up here, or you just had your money saved?
No, I didn't have a job lined up, but I had taken the time to reach out to people who I wanted to work with. So I reached out to like Elgin Charles. I reached out to Kim Kimball. I met Convo in Chicago, and he gave me his cell phone number.
Wow.
And he was like, well, you could come work with me if you want to.
Yeah.
There was another salon, this woman who used to be on, she was on the one of those hair shows, like Chopped or something, Heroin Salon. I gave them my resume too. They were very interested. And so I kind of like planted the seed.
Right.
But I didn't have an actual job when I got here.
So where did you land when you got here? Like in a salon?
I went straight to Kim Kimball, and I got hired there like 4 days after I got here.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. So is that when, so obviously you know the name, you know the face. Angela was on LA Hair, Kim Kimball's show. So is that when all that happened?
Basically, a year after I moved here is when the show happened.
Okay, so you were at the salon as a salon stylist, though, prior to the show.
Right. Okay. So I moved here. I had already touched base, and then I met Kim and interviewed with her when I got here. And then 4 days later, I got hired.
Okay.
And then I got hired as her assistant, and I also got hired as a stylist, a commissioned stylist in her salon at the same time. So I basically had 2 jobs at the same time.
Right.
But because I didn't have a clientele, I wasn't going to be taking a lot of clients as a commissioned stylist. Right. So in the meantime, I was either on set with her, or I was helping her prep customers. Right. Or when she was out of town, I would do some of her clients. Yeah. And so I was working around the clock all the time, nonstop. So I would say maybe like 7 or 8 months into me working there, producers approached her about a show, and they wanted to shoot a pilot, and so we shot the pilot, and then it was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And then I think we knew that there was some interest there, but somewhere around like the year mark or something like that, I actually left and I opened up a studio. Oh. And so
And this was before like real filming actually started.
Yeah, this was before filming actually started, and I was kind of like, once again, I never have been super attracted to being famous or that I just really wanted to work and prove myself, but it wasn't necessarily the most ideal working situation. On one hand, it was because I got a lot of exposure. I learned a lot. Yeah. But I didn't feel good being there, and I felt like I had to go. Yeah. So, me and another...
Walking away sometimes from the check.
Yeah, walking away from the check and getting your peace of mind and your happiness back. And, I basically... felt like I needed things out of the situation. And I speak to a lot of stylists who are on commission or in a commission situation about, what if they feel like they need more, you should always present what you have, what you've done, and negotiate for more. So that was pretty much the issue. Was I felt like I needed more. I felt like I needed health benefits. I felt like I needed more time off. I didn't want to just be completely available whenever you needed me. I just felt like I was working.
You needed to reclaim some of
my time and and I wanted to feel appreciated. And I wasn't feeling that. Okay. So after about a year and a half, I decided to just get my own thing. So after I did take that step away, I still get a call, and they're like, well, we still want you to be on the show. We sold you into the show. Producers love you. Like, we want to have you. Let's do the show. I'm like, really? I was like, you sure you want me to do this?
Have you talked to her?
I'm like, do you? Yeah. I didn't know, and then I prayed on it. I was talking to my family, like, well, if they want you, they go ahead and do it, So then LA Hair happened, and then I still had to appear as though I was a stylist in her salon. Wow. Okay. So for the 2 or 3 seasons that I was a stylist in her salon, I actually had a suite like this. I had a double suite.
So you were like double timing work. You were working on camera, and then you'd like go and do the work. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So you had some scenes, some controversial type things. I'd love. So one that's memorable to me, and I'd like for you to talk on it. Here is regarding the assistant, basically, I guess, what ended that relationship. And I say that because I get questions a lot in regards to assisting and, And then I also get a lot of requests for people to assist me. And I lay down some ground rules, you know, like, hey, if you're assisting, this is what we're doing. And I try to bring, I don't bring like the newer assistants around, you know, bigger clients, because I'm like, we need to work together and figure that out.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get your opinion as a stylist, and probably now as a stylist who has your own trove of assistants, you know, what your take on the whole assistant situation was with, you know what I'm talking about, the scenario, and then any recommendations or suggestions or pointers for people who want to assist out there.
Okay, so 2-part question. So you're talking about season 1, our whole fallout that created all the controversy.
Yes.
So first of all, like with reality TV, I'm sure you guys kind of realize this, but maybe not, but it's not necessarily real.
So it's a little instigated.
Yeah. And so when it came to that specific situation, to give you guys backstory if you didn't see it, basically I was her assistant, which is true in real life. And I started working with Eve, who is still my client today, 8 years later.
Has it been 8 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I met her when I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so but basically the framework of the show, it seemed like I stole her from Kim. And in a way, I guess you could say I kind of did, but for the show, I didn't realize that's what it was going to look like, because they honestly just asked me what celebrity could I get to style on camera. And at the time when I was working with her, I had done the most jobs one-on-one as a hairstylist with Eve, whereas some of her other clients, I didn't feel comfortable talking to or asking could I style their hair, because I never actually styled their hair.
Right.
But it wasn't a paid job. You know, I wasn't asking Eve to work with her for other things. For
ongoing situations.
It was really only like, hey, I'm on the show. Like, can I do your hair on the show for this thing? It's no charge. Do you have anything going on in LA? And she was like, oh yeah, I do. Like, sure, because I had already done a video shoot or 2 video shoots as her actual stylist. And I went to Australia with her and did like a show and like some TV
and this
stuff.
All prior to.
This was all prior to. As a stylist and not an assistant. So she was one of the only people I felt comfortable asking. Even though I had met and worked with like a lot of people, I knew that wasn't my boundary to step over, you know, and she had made that perfectly clear in so many other scenarios that I knew that I'm not crazy, you know what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of times people resonated with it, and then other people were turned off by it because they thought I didn't understand protocol. But the reality is I completely understood protocol. I literally was just trying to do her hair for that spot on the show. And so when it came out after, and they kept saying like, oh, that's Kim client. Oh, and I'm like, okay. To me, it was like, and like, I'm not trying to make her my client. I didn't make no money off of that, but I couldn't say that on camera. And even if I did, it was probably edited out. So when it all boiled down to us feuding, our real issue was behind things in the past that I did have a reason to
when
be
you were like really officially her sister.
That I did have a reason to be upset about.
But
it showed up in that superficial framework of like, you stole Eve. And it's like, no, I didn't. And just to that other side of it, you can't steal a human. Like, you cannot physically steal a human.
So I want to add to that because in the interview that you did with me, I spoke about how I was having a baby and I lost a client, and the client started working with someone else, and I had a really great talk with a really good friend and mentor of mine named Sam Fine, and he's like, listen, so Tippi, you didn't lose her, nobody stole her, because she wasn't yours to have. Clients are clients, they have their own money and they can choose who to spend their money with. So the fact that the whole idea of like you stole someone's client, like that is ridiculous, because at the end of the day, these are grown people who make their decisions of who they want to put their time, energy, and money into. And so that is a lesson that I learned.
And the reality of looking back, like looking at your situation, I've always wondered that too. But looking at your situation, I just honestly think too, the lifestyle and the personality part, it probably made more sense that you weren't involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
As it continued
on, because it was a lot.
Yeah.
And with you being a mother, and honestly, being a celebrity hairstylist is really a gay man's world. And the reason that I say that is because they don't necessarily have to be so like multi-connected to so many people. Like, they're not mothers. They're
fathers. Fathers and they're partners. So sorry, I want to keep a fair statement there. But to your point, for a really long time, I would always say the black woman is the black sheep of the beauty industry, because we are the last to be chosen for jobs. Like, we get looked over so easily for our male counterparts.
But it's because we can't always necessarily have that same get up and go. If we do, we're not gonna have a husband.
Right.
If we do, we're gonna be a
Children
terrible
right.
mother. Like, fathers and mothers, they don't have the same role, and sometimes they switch. But the reality is, you carry that life. There's a connectivity that men don't have. So even if it's a modern day gay man that has adopted kids and all of that, most of the time they're younger. They can just get up and go, yes, let's go, let's. You know what I'm saying? We can't do that.
I say, so gender aside. But I understand what you're saying, and I do agree to it to a certain extent. But what I will say, though, that working with celebrities is a young person.
Right, and that too, young, single, not having really any other obligation. You just, what time right now? Okay, I'll be there.
Because it is a lot of that. I mean, literally, it's like, what are you doing tomorrow? I got a call to go to Japan with 24 hours notice.
Yeah, me too. And I've been able to do it, but there have been times, or if that were to happen now, I would strongly think about it a little bit more. And I don't even have kids. It's just that I don't want to be uprooted like that.
Yeah.
And so you do have to be young. You do have to be single. You do. So that's why I know that there, it wasn't necessarily straight like a gay man who got the job, but that's what it ended up being, because even she was like,
right. Right. So, okay. I don't want to stray too far from, but I want to. That's okay. No, I love this, and this is real talk, and so this is what this is about: is to give you guys like the real beauty, what's behind it, because it's not all glamour, it's not all fun, it's not all I'm flying with her on her private jet, and it's like sometimes I'm rubbing lotion on her feet. Like, it's just, there's a lot of components to this industry.
Yeah.
But so.
To bring it back.
Yes, let's bring it back.
About assistance.
So I'd love for you to give any advice or takeaways from that experience for you that you can share with people who want to be assistants or who are currently assistants.
The biggest lesson that I learned is communication, number one. Like, whether or not you still work with a person and there might be a little, situation about a client, just call the stylist and say, hey, like, such and such called me. Are y'all good? Or are you just not available? Or do you care that I do this job? Or I'll pass you some commission. One of my clients, one of my assistants who doesn't work with me now, he literally just did that like a month ago. And I have so much respect for him for it. But I also know that what is for you is for you. Excuse me, I'm getting hoarse too. What's for you is for you. And so even if you might be more skilled, your personality might not gel as much with that client. They might not feel as comfortable with you. They might, they might just want to like really, kiki and talk shit, and that might not be your personality. Or they might want to try something that's not really what they believe is your wheelhouse. Or maybe you do really natural color and cuts, and maybe they wanted something that was like super like edgy or really bold and bright, and you might think that that's tacky, and they might go to be like, and so I've always just been a firm believer of like, hey, everybody's isn't for everybody. So if I have a person and they want to try my assistant and they feel comfortable, go for it. I know that 9 times out of 10 my assistant might not have this skill set necessarily, but they'll find that on their own, and they'll either come back to me or they'll decide to keep going because they believe in that person. So I'm not necessarily one of those people that's like, oh yeah, you gotta do this. I don't really care, to be honest. I just do think that there should be communication that happens, just so I'm not feeling crazy, or I'm not like, what? Like, you just don't want to make up things in your mind because you didn't get a chance to talk to them first. And so I think for anyone who is assisting, and that may happen where you get approached by their client, just talk to the person first. If you have a weird, strange relationship with the person you work for, you still should communicate with them. And I understand that sometimes the people you work for may not be a family-oriented, loving, accepting setting. And if you say something, that might put them on edge and fire you or whatever. But once again, what God has for you is for you. And if you get fired, then maybe you didn't need to be there anyway, because you need to be around people who can nurture and support your talents and be a mentor. And so, like, in my situation, I was looking for a mentorship, and I didn't get that. I had a job. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it was a great job that lent me a lot of experience.
And with expectations that you weren't necessarily, and that's okay, because you know,
and so that's the other thing is, as an assistant, are you looking to just keep your head down and do the work because it's good work and it's good opportunities, or do you want to be nurtured as well? And so I wanted to be nurtured, and I don't necessarily need like kid gloves, but I know what it's like to have a mentor, and I was looking for that in LA, and I didn't get that. And so once I felt like it was time for me to leave, there was a strain there, because I had expectations that I didn't feel like were met, and she had expectations that I should have been more, you know, keep your head down, and we just clashed on television, and it made for great TV. But that wasn't, the parameters that it was set in weren't actually real.
Okay. Well, that is, I watched it. I'm sure a lot of you watched it, and we were all glued to the TV. So, so this was part of it. So, Kim, I don't know if you're watching. If you are, hey, I don't know what the relationship is today.
Hey, girl.
Okay, good. So that's amazing, because I am a strong believer by, you know, we are way more powerful together than separated. So, that's just my stance on the whole situation. But I'm really glad that you had the opportunity to share this assistant scenario. And then, so in retrospect, knowing that, and I understand the scenario was different, but maybe, you know, life lesson learned that maybe
definitely, I could have totally communicated and said, hey, I asked Eve, could I do her hair? That's your client, I know, but I'm not asking for any money. I'm not doing it, because I think she too felt blindsided, and then it was more of an instigation kind of thing. But the reality was, I wasn't trying to take Eve or work with her. I was at a place where I was so unsure about my future or what I was gonna do next. I just knew that I needed to be on my own at that point. And I needed to find a different avenue. So that different avenue, it didn't have to be with another celebrity for all I care. It just was that they specifically asked for a high profile person.
Baiting for drama.
Baiting for drama. You know, and so in retrospect, I could have done a lot of things differently. But also, my mother was on chemo. I was flying back and forth from Chicago to LA. I'm trying to meet the demands of a production. I have a salon, and I have a mother who I don't know is going to live or die. The last thing I'm thinking about is getting on the phone and asking her, does she mind, when I'm not making money off the job anyway. So to me, it was it was a simple exchange. Okay. Well, we're moving on. So let us know what you're doing now. We talked about the celebrity aspect. We talked about the TV personality aspect. So, author, tell us about that.